Part 23. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 221. A phone call went directly to Yan Han's phone. Captain Yan, I am Shen Yun. I have something to trouble you with, Shen Yun said straight to the point. What did you say? Yan Han responded quickly. Shen Yun directly reported the names and addresses of the two research laboratories. I need to check this. This is the research laboratory in Fujialong, Hong Kong City. I got the news here that there is nothing going on in this laboratory. For serious matters, please investigate whether any cultivators who have disappeared recently are related to this research laboratory. As soon as Shen Yun said it, Yan Han understood what he meant. He knew exactly what Shen Yun was doing in Hong Kong City. The news here would also be fed back to the mainland. On the surface, the Fu family found nothing wrong, but with Chang Sheng, the combination of Shen He and the secretly digging of spiritual mines in the mainland means that this family is not a good family. They all clearly remember the people who died because of the spiritual mines at that time. Okay, I'll have someone check it out right away. How are things going with you in Hong Kong City? Yan Han responded, and took a look at Shen Yun's progress. I'm going to confront the opponent directly, but I have to discuss it with my teammates on how to do it. If I need your support, I will call you then. Although Shen Yun's plan is to arrest Boss Fu as soon as possible, but the opponent is now stronger than her, and there are many people under her command. The port city is their base camp. If they want to ensure that this operation is foolproof, they have to make too many preparations. Even if a lion fights a rabbit, try your best. Now it's more like the other way around, you have to work harder and plan harder. Okay. After Shen Yun finished talking on the phone, he heard the phone in Duji's office ring. It was Fang Ning and the others who had arrived, and the person at the front desk called to inquire. Duji directly asked people to bring them up. Several people met in Duji's office. Let me introduce you, this is Duji, the Du family. These people are my teammates, Fang Ning, Su Yu, Han Jieliang, and Liao Qiang. They are all trustworthy people. Let's discuss now how to deal with people like the Fu family. Chen Yun, as a person known to both parties, took the initiative to introduce. The two parties got to know each other briefly. Started to get to the point. Shen Yun talked about everything he had seen and heard in the past few days. Several people couldn't help but frowned when they heard that the opponent's strength had grown so fast. Are you sure that person is Boss Fu? Duji asked after hearing Shen Yun's words. I'm sure that although he looks a little different, I have fought against him. Although the other person's face is covered, his aura is still the same, Shen Yun said with certainty. It's really possible what you said. We have only investigated Boss Fu's appearance, but no one has seen Boss Fu's face. It seems to be changing anytime and anywhere. Duji thought about his own investigation results, so it was not that the person they were investigating was bad, but that Boss Fu deliberately avoided it. It would be easy for such a powerful person to prevent others from seeing his face. By the way, the opponent is so strong, and the port city here is still the opponent's base camp. We are obviously no match for the opponent. Fang Ning thought very realistically and noticed this problem directly. Yes, there is such a problem now. There are many people on the other side and they are very strong. It can be said that they are all above you. We now have to think of a way to use the big to win over the small. Otherwise, we will definitely send puppets to Boss Fu directly. A few people summarized the news they have learned in the past few days. To put it simply, this task is simply impossible according to basic methods. Several people were lost in thought. Otherwise, we will find a way to lure him to the mainland. That is our base camp. I don't believe he can't be killed by a sea of people, Liao Qiang said with an idea. This is also a way, but the place must be chosen well, otherwise it will harm the people in the mainland. We cannot do this to divert disaster to the east, Fang Ning emphasized on the side. Our investigation in the past few days has found that several foreigners around him have left here to go back to work. Now is indeed the best time to deal with them. Duji continued and disappeared. This is very good news. Then let's discuss how to deal with him, Shen Yun said directly. Is there any way to lure him out of the port city? Since the opponent needs to sit in front of the stone statue to receive the energy from the stone statue, if he is far away from the port city, he will be far away from the energy supply, so the subsequent battle will be more beneficial to them. He is like a turtle hiding in a shell now, accumulating power. You cannot seduce him without enough benefits. Duji still knows a little about his opponent. That's not necessarily the case. I heard him say that he wanted to go out to inspect research institutes in various places. If there is enough profit motivation at this time, then he will definitely go out. Shen Yun thought about his conversations with several people. Regardless of this matter, did he just say it casually? Shen Yun was definitely going to make this happen anyway. Then what's the lead? Several people's eyes turned to Shen Yun. Shen Yun thought about the newly budded lotus in the space. The small flower bone exudes an indescribable energy, and there is a trace of cloud-like aura floating around it, making it even more ethereal and like a fairy. Although Shen Yun doesn't know what this thing is now, it does not prevent her from giving her little lotus is packaged and used to fool people outside. Shen Yun called a few people over and carefully explained his plan. Is this possible? The other party is not so easy to deceive, so you didn't believe that the other party would not find the flaw in such an obvious idea. The simpler the idea is, the more useful it is to deal with a deep-minded person like him. After all, the other party wants this and that, and we have only one purpose, and that is to kill the other party. Shen Yun's idea is very reliable. As long as the follow-up work is settled, he can't help but believe it. Okay, in this case, let's do it this time. The more worries we have, the more things will happen later. Why not simply leave the affairs of Hong Kong City to me? As long as you take away the powerful Fu family, the rest will be done. Leave it to me. Du Jida is a decisive person. He believed in Shen Yun last time at the Lingxi mine and saved his life. Now it doesn't stop him from trusting her again. Okay, then I will go back to the mainland to prepare a few things. When it is completed, I will send you a message. Then you can start taking action. I will wait for you on the mainland. Shen Yun looked at several people and said. Okay, let's act separately. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 222. A few people agreed, and Shen Yun and the others left the Du family's building quietly. Several people outside walked toward different places. Shen Yun found a secluded place and walked directly towards the capital with his sword. This matter still needs the cooperation of Yan Han and the others to complete it better. The speed was very fast. 2 hours later, Shen Yun had already arrived at the place. Going directly to the special department headquarters, is Minister Yan in there? Shen Yun asked the old man sitting at the door directly. Here you are, let's go in. The old man seemed to be dozing off, but he was not ambiguous about Shen Yun's question. Shen Yun thanked him and walked directly inside. Shan Han is still working in the office as expected. Minister Yan, I want to discuss something with you. Shen Yun knocked directly at the door. You're back, the things in Hong Kong City are done. Yan Han didn't expect that the two of them had just talked on the phone, and within a moment, he saw someone appear in front of him. We're working on it. I came back to ask you for help. Shen Yun walked in directly. Sit across from the other person's desk. He directly explained the plans of several people. The plan is rough, but it is feasible. Yan Han thought for a while and gave a definite answer. Okay, let's go and do it. I will help you complete this matter. By the way, we have transferred the information of the research room. What is the situation inside? We have sent people to investigate. If it is confirmed, there is something inside. If you violate the law, Boss Fu will definitely catch it. Yan Han continued. Okay, then we will decide on Kunlun Mountain, and I will ask you to send someone to coordinate with me. The two finalized the details, and Shen Yun stood up directly. She will first go to Kunlun Mountain to find a suitable place to move one of her little lotuses. Then she will take photos and other things. If you want to catch someone with a higher level of cultivation than yourself, you must not miss the formation. You will see if the other party will bring that powerful formation master with him. At that time, there will be a contest between two formation mages. Kunlun Mountain is a fairy mountain in legend. It has been mysterious and special in the hearts of Chinese people since ancient times. Shen Yun did not look for mountains on the outside, nor did he choose a place that was too inner. I directly found a relatively high mountain with drifting mist as my destination. The top of the mountain is covered with snow that never melts all year round, making it appear pure and quiet. Shen Yun dug a small hole directly on the top of the mountain with the Qingfeng sword. Carefully fill the hole with spiritual spring water. Then he entered the space and transplanted one of the small lotus flowers. Fearing that the little lotus would not be able to adapt to the outside environment, Shen Yun used spiritual energy to protect it. After thinking about it, he set up a simple spirit gathering array next to it. The gathered spiritual energy was enough for the little lotus to grow. After removing his spiritual energy, he found that the little lotus flower was swaying, as if it had adapted well to the environment. It seems that I was worried in vain just now. Since there is nothing uncomfortable with little lotus, Shen Yun can start the next step. First, he takes the camera he brought and finds an angle to take a photo of the fairy-like little lotus. Then he directly set up a defensive formation here, took the things he took and flew directly towards the capital with his sword. He handed the camera to Yan Han and told him the chosen address. Shen Yun headed back without stopping. Rush. Looking at the entire large area on the top of the mountain, Shen Yun directly began to set up the formation. The formations that had been reluctant to be used in the past were not hidden away this time, and they were immediately set up. Large-scale formations consume a huge amount of spiritual stones, causing a lot of dissatisfaction among the possessive little ones in the space. He has been screaming in Shen Yun's mind, and Shen Yun couldn't help it, and could only get Xiaojia out. Don't be angry. We are here to catch the big bad guy. We may need your help when the time comes. After the big bad guy is defeated, I will take you to find Wu Tongmu and Zushi. Then I will build a more powerful one for you. A comfortable nest. Your current habit of liking spiritual stones is not in line with the nature of a phoenix. It is a bit like the living habits of a dragon. When the work here is over, I will take you to find out how phoenix lives. Your life is too rough now, and I feel guilty. Shen Yunlian is sincere and sincere. But I pondered what Xiao Bengqiye said for a while, thinking about the two sets of inheritances in my mind, and for a while I couldn't tell which inheritance belonged to my family. When he was a child, he was exposed to the living environment of dealing with spirit stones. He subconsciously chose one of them. Now that he heard Shen Yun say this, his outlook on life was a bit shattered. It turned out that his previous living habits were wrong. It's also very comfortable to sit on the shiny spiritual stone. Shen Yun looked at the little Benki who was standing on his shoulder and meditating in the wind without disturbing it. When it wasn't paying attention, he directly took out a large amount of spiritual stones and continued to set up the formation. Profound formations can kill people invisible, and Shen Yun left no room for it now. He directly used all his ultimate moves and borrowed the opponent's formation ideas. Shen Yun also used a few. It took 5 days of delay on this mountaintop to make the formation on this mountaintop disappear invisible and kill people invisible. At this time, the Du family discovered the news about Little Lotus. They hid it, but in the end they were discovered by the hostile Fu family. In order not to let the Fu family take the lead, Du Ji led people directly to the mainland. Boss, do you think it's true that the Du family got the news about Chaos Jinglian? Now that the Du family has taken the lead, Should we rush over immediately? I heard that for this matter, I even spent a lot of money to invite Mr. Zhang to come with me, just to get this lotus in my pocket. The subordinates talked to Boss Fu about the information he had collected. At first, he felt that something was wrong with the Du family's hiding. It took him several days of investigation to find out the information that the Du family had been covering up. Are you sure this news is true? Chaos Jinglian is a legendary thing, and Boss Fu felt that something was wrong when he heard it. I'm really not sure about this, but you also know that the Du family is used to doing things to save face. It's possible that they know more about the news on the mainland than we do. My subordinates have already asked people to inquire about the news on the mainland. The man. While I was talking, the phone rang. The man immediately complained to Mr. Fu and answered the phone. He didn't know what he heard, but he couldn't help but look a little excited. Boss, our people in Beijing have already found out. On the top of Kunlun Mountain, there is indeed a green lotus on the top of a mountain. It has an ethereal fairy spirit. A cultivator came close and took a breath, which directly promoted 3 minor realms. It's a pity that he was too weak at the time and Xinglian couldn't take it down. He came down to find a friend and planned to wait for the green lotus to bloom before going up to try his luck. Little did he know that his friend wanted to monopolize the benefits and wanted to harm this person. The person was so angry that he directly made the matter public. Now many cultivators are running towards the Kunlun Mountains, wanting to try their luck. The man said quickly, the excitement on his face could not be concealed. This thing felt more magical than the stone statue, and what effect a treasure like this had, would only be clear when it was in his own hands. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 223. At first, Boss Fu felt that it was a bit untrue, but when he heard the people below say this, he started to believe it. After all, as a normal person, if he encountered such a situation, he would definitely do the same thing, and he would not even get it. Yes, I would rather destroy it than leave it to others. To use oneself to save others, this person just made the secret public, which is really too light. Did you tell me when the lotus flowers will bloom? Although Mr. Fu was a little convinced, he kept his expression low and continued to ask the people below. The man said that the green lotus he saw had already budded, and was surrounded by spiritual energy according to ordinary lotus flowers, and if there is enough spiritual energy, it is estimated that it will bloom in the next 2 days. How about it, boss, should we go into this muddy water or not? As soon as he finished speaking, several people next to him looked at Mr. Fu, who was sitting on the table, with curiosity. Boss, how about I take a few brothers over to check out the situation? The people below saw that Boss Fu was not moving and suggested in a low voice. Yes, boss, don't we also want to develop in the mainland? Let's go to investigate and see if this lotus is real. If it is real, the brothers will work hard to get this green lotus back and present it to them. Give it to you, boss, the person next to him also suggested. Each one has his or her own thoughts, but they all focus on Xinglian. If this is really the chaos treasure, even if it is a little worse than that, it is still an incredible treasure. Who among the following group of people is going to get this thing, and who will be the boss at that time is not sure. Although Mr. Fu half closed his eyes, he could clearly see the thoughts of the group of people below who were getting restless. Looking at the powerful people, Mr. Fu suppressed the anger in his heart. They were all a group of spiritual energy providers, and they wanted to outdo themselves and become the king, overestimating their abilities. Since you want to take a look so much, let's go there. As soon as the news comes out this time, there are probably many families like the Du family. They want to take down Xinglian just relying on you. You also underestimate the mainland. This group of people. I happen to be going to Beijing and Shanghai to see what's going on at the institute, so I'll go there with you. As soon as Mr. Fu finished speaking, the people below had different expressions. Some thought that it was a sure thing to have the boss following him, while others had their little calculations exposed and had to suppress their thoughts with regret and wait to find it later. Opportunity. Boss Fu will not expose it. Anyway, no matter what, the lives of these people are in his own hands, so there is no need to worry about them turning the world upside down. Boss, when are we leaving? The people below suppressed their different expressions and asked Boss Fu carefully with an impatient look on their faces. Didn't I say that it's about to bloom? Gather some people and we'll leave right away. We can't let that guy go ahead of us. Yes, the people below responded and hurriedly ran outside. They all knew brothers. At this moment, they wanted to bring a few more brothers they were familiar with so that the benefits could be distributed. If you want to be alone, you can still think about it when the boss is not there. Now you can only bring more brothers, so that next time there is something good, they can also think about themselves. A group of people set off directly in the name of investment and construction. As soon as the people here boarded the ship, Shen Yun and the others who were far away in Beijing got the news. Shen Yun directly called Du Ji, who had left the Du family team and returned to Hong Kong City, and agreed to give them 3 days to deal with the problem of the stone statue and the Fu family. After hanging up the phone, Shen Yun and the others stood ready, waiting for Boss Fu and the others to come over. Chen Yun in Kunlun Mountain has set up 2 places. One is to attract cultivators from China. There is a reincarnation that has just grown out of the space. This thing is also a treasure of heaven and earth, but the time is short and it cannot be reached. It has the function of resisting lightning disasters, but if anyone is lucky enough to pocket this thing and take good care of it, it will really save lives in critical times in the future. Shen Yun also thoughtfully placed a method of breeding and using reincarnation beside him. Of course, this thing is not free. There are also formations set up around it, but what is set up here is not the killing formation, but the illusion formation and the heart-asking formation. Only by passing this test can we gain the inner reincarnation. Both waves of people are heading towards the Kunlun Mountains, but their destinations are different. When the Fu family walked on the road, they met people who were also heading towards the Kunlun Mountains. They were all secretly wary of each other, and the last remaining doubts in their hearts were dispelled. In my heart, I just laughed at the incompetence of the mainland people. Such a good treasure was not hidden, but was spread everywhere. The government here did not directly take the thing into their hands, but also gave the following low-level cultivators a chance. It's really kind-hearted and soft-hearted. Now is the era of spiritual energy recovery. The mainland is so big. After you get the Qinglian, you must carefully harvest it and collect more materials for future cultivation. Everyone marched towards Kunlun Mountain with high morale. As soon as we reached the foot of the mountain outside, we saw someone turning back. With a look from Boss Fu, the people below immediately took action. Brother, isn't it said that there is a treasure on Kunlun Mountain? Why are you back again? Could it be that the treasure has been taken away? I am from another place and I don't know the situation when I first got here. Can you tell me about it? After passing the cigarette and approaching each other, the ugly expression on the face of the person opposite him also faded away. It's not that this mountain has been surrounded. We are all ordinary people. How can we dare to compete with the country? I see that there are so many people surrounding you, and the others are also very strong. I guess there is no chance. Why don't we do our best? Go home and practice to improve your strength so that you won't be unable to do anything like this next time. The man took the cigarette and said with a hint of regret. Is it possible that all the cultivators above are surrounded by cultivators? The man pretended to have never seen it before and said in surprise. That's not true, it's just an ordinary army, but the people behind these people are people from the country, and we don't dare to disobey the country's decision. If you don't believe it, you can go over and have a look. I'll try my luck elsewhere. Kunlun is so big and has been a blessed land for immortals since ancient times. Maybe you can be lucky and come across something good. After the man finished speaking, he looked at more and more people turning around and left without saying anything else. This person went back and shared the information he had found out. That guy just reached the 3rd level of chi training. They are afraid. We don't need to be afraid. A group of ordinary people can scare these people away. It's really useless. The people in the team sneered. Although the person next to him didn't speak, it was obvious from his expression that he meant this. The age of rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 224. A group of people did not take what they just said about the 3rd level of chi training into their hearts. A group of cultivators who could be scared off by ordinary people could only enter their research room. Continue walking towards the Kunlun Mountains. I saw a mountain sitting in the distance. The snow-white mountainside was completely dark and densely packed with people. At first glance, the auras were mixed, and most of them were people practicing chi on the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd levels who came to join in the fun. With so many people, even if they charge, they will directly break through the defense line when the time comes. They will get the treasure and improve their strength. What can the country do with people? They are a bunch of cowards. Everyone saw the people in front of them with even greater disdain. Boss, what should we do? Should we rush forward directly? They can't do anything to us anyway. When the people next to them saw the scene above, they couldn't help but lick their lips and became excited all over. Don't act rashly. This is a mainland, not a port city, and there are countless hidden families. Who knows if there are any old monsters? Let's take a rest here first and then plan again. Boss Fu waved his hand and motioned for everyone to rest where they were. But everyone is accustomed to relying on stone statues and other evil ways to improve their spiritual energy. How can they have the patience to meditate obediently? At this time, only Mr. Fu can sit there and practice patiently. Others were sitting or standing, not looking away from the mountain. Shen Yun's consciousness detected this group of people from far away. Seeing Mr. Fu calmly sitting down to practice, he couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. Shen was really calm. The boss Fu who was sitting here was not as calm as outsiders thought. He used the subtle consciousness he had just developed to look up. Sure enough, the defense line was a group of ordinary people. There could be no cultivators on the top of the mountain. There are only 2 situations at present. One is that the green lotus has not bloomed yet and they are still waiting. The other is that they encountered something on the top, so they stopped these ordinary monks from going up to avoid more lives. Both situations are favorable to them. It would be better if it is the second option. When they go up, the people above will also suffer losses. Boss Fu took a deep breath of the rich spiritual energy in the air, and continued to explore with his consciousness. Not far from the square line, he saw the group of people from the Du family. They did not leave, and they were also adjusting. That old monster Zhang was Hui is also sitting there practicing. As soon as his spiritual consciousness swept over, he saw that the other party opened his eyes. This old guy was not bad. He had also cultivated his spiritual consciousness. Boss Fu didn't want to alarm the snake at this time, so he directly withdrew his consciousness. Whoever gets a magical object like Qinglian in the end depends on who is more capable. He didn't believe that old monster Zhang would be able to work wholeheartedly for the Du family boy. As long as he is given a little benefit when the time comes, he will not believe that his hometown will not betray him. The temptation of strength and interests, even if the Du family is the richest man in Hong Kong City, he will not take it seriously. At that time, he may be able to give Du Chuao a direct blow. Get rid of it. Mr. Fu has done enough psychological construction and started practicing with peace of mind. By the time night falls, there are fewer and fewer people left. Boss Fu just stood up. He had already figured out the situation of the guards above, and the shifts changed every 4 hours. The next shift change was just 10 minutes later. Boss Fu motioned for everyone to follow him and walk directly towards the hidden corner on the other side. Due to the terrain, it was difficult for ordinary people to stand guard there, and the level of cultivation was relatively low. It is also difficult for low-level people to go from here, but for their team who are all practicing Qi at the 5th level, it is basically not difficult. Although it is not a problem for Boss Fu to break through from the front, looking at the many people left over there, on the one hand, he does not want anyone to fish in troubled waters while they are fighting each other, and on the other hand, he does not want to directly confront the country's army. On top of that, I can't guarantee that I can catch those legendary weapons now. A group of people worked together at this time and followed Boss Fu's command and walked towards their destination. Under the cover of darkness, a group of people broke through the defense line and headed towards the top of the mountain. Shen Yun's spiritual consciousness above could see clearly, alerting Yan Han and the others around him, and under the cover of night, the formation was quietly prepared. As soon as the person on the other side came up, Shen Yun and the others pretended to find him. Who is it? The 5 people and the little one turned their attention to the dozen or so people behind them. Shen Yun and others are standing very close to the lotus. Under the reflection of the white snow, the green buds are half open and swaying in the wind. They have a mysterious aura that makes people feel good just looking at them. Moreover, the spiritual energy on the top of the mountain is more intense. After taking a deep breath, the whole person feels refreshed. I feel the same way. It is also possible for people with low cultivation level to directly upgrade to 3 levels. Sure enough, the rumors have some basis, and this trip is indeed worth it. Who are they? Of course they are people who are coming towards the treasure. It is the most precious treasure in the world. Anyone who sees it has a share. Don't think that if you build a defense line, this thing is yours, one of Boss Fu's subordinates said with a playful smile. Is it just you? Yan Han looked at this man and said disdainfully. It's up to me, he said, and attacked directly. They arrived at Shen Yun and the others smoothly. They just came to grab things, and seeing that Qing Lian was about to open, no one wanted to be slow. They all wanted to make a quick decision, and then put the treasure directly into their own bags. When the dozen or so people here moved, except for Yan Han who was fighting with the other person, everyone else treated him sternly. This behavior confirmed that Shen Yun and the others were not as strong as Boss Fu and the others. Moreover, a person had just passed by without encountering any problems, so this group of people didn't waste any time and quickly rushed over here. The moment the person on the opposite side stepped into the formation, Shen Yun made a gesture. A burst of energy shot up from the ground instantly. It was too late for Boss Fu and the others to retreat. The group of people disappeared instantly. Shan Han here saw that the formation was completed, so he stopped acting and took care of the people who were fighting him in 2 or 2. Notify the people below that people have been trapped in the urn. Those who want to go to the other side to hunt for treasures should hurry up. Otherwise, it is not our fault if the crowd is full. Shen Yun looked at the situation and directly sent a message to the person in charge below. The person in charge heard what Shen Yun said and immediately shouted. This sound caused most of the cultivators gathered here to instantly turn their heads and run down the mountain. The people who came nearby were stunned for a moment when they saw this. Then they turned around and ran downstairs with a group of people without thinking about it. In less than 5 minutes, everyone around the entire defense line disappeared. The people leading the army had already anticipated this situation. They calmly asked the soldiers to patrol again. If there were no special circumstances, they could directly withdraw the defense line downwards to prevent the fighting above from making too much noise and causing an avalanche. It's dangerous. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 225. I didn't expect that things would go so smoothly today, and these people would be wiped out by us in one fell swoop. Shen Yun and his teammates watched things go smoothly, heaved a sigh of relief, and couldn't help but sigh. Don't be too happy yet. Boss Fu has a lot of trump cards. I wonder if the genius formation master in their team has followed him. If he does, he might be able to do it before their people are exhausted by the formation. Come out, we can't let down our guard now. Although Shen Yun breathed a sigh of relief, he didn't say he was relieved just yet. I don't know what level Boss Fu's current strength is. I hope this formation can consume as much of his spiritual power as possible. A few people had just relaxed, but when they heard what Shen Yun said, their spirits suddenly became tense again. Then what should we prepare now? Everyone is trapped in the formation and can't be seen outside. Only one person has been subdued. Everyone doesn't know what to do now and can only ask the person on the side. Chen Yun. Why don't you practice some training first? After all, the spiritual energy here is indeed very strong. Shen Yun thought for a while and suggested that he should race against time to improve his strength so that he could have the upper hand in what might happen next. Okay, several people responded simply and started meditating directly. Shen Yun didn't know what kind of sacred object this little lotus was. After moving to the top of the mountain, the spiritual energy on the top of the mountain, plus his own small spirit gathering array, the rich spiritual energy here had formed a spiritual mist, which looked almost like his own space. Why don't you practice? Shen Yun asked curiously, looking at Yan Han, who was still standing next to him. I have now reached the great perfection of Qi practice. I have been practicing every day recently, but there has been no progress. It may have reached a bottleneck period, Yan Han said lightly, but his eyes were looking in the direction of the formation. Chen Yun thought about it. People with special spiritual roots like himself and some people who practice evil arts do not have any bottlenecks during the Qi training period. Others generally want to get through the bottleneck period on their own, and they will need opportunities or rely on building. Only with Jiden can the foundation be built more quickly. Shen Yun didn't know if Yan Han knew about this, so he mentioned it to him directly. I've seen it in ancient books, but you also know that refining alchemy is more difficult than practicing cultivation. Some Chinese medicine practitioners in our country have begun to try this direction, but to be honest, there has been no progress so far. Fortunately, we are not in a hurry. There are still very few people who have reached the great perfection of Qi training. Just me. I still hope to build the foundation naturally when the right opportunity comes, like you. Yan Han is also concerned about the progress in all aspects, but he really can't help with the matter of alchemy. He can only watch Chinese medicine doctors and some Taoist practitioners slowly try according to ancient books. This is much more difficult than prescribing Chinese medicine. Actually, I am also an alchemist, but I have been busy lately and have practiced less, Shen Yun said while paying attention to the fluctuations in the formation. Yan Han next to him suddenly laughed. Shen Yun glanced at Yan Han in surprise. Does it look like he was joking that he could make alchemy? Was he laughing at himself? What do you mean, you don't believe it? Shen Yun was a little surprised. Yan Han, who had always had a cold face and not much expression, actually laughed because he said he knew how to make alchemy. He laughed. No, don't get me wrong, I'm not laughing at you. I just suddenly thought of the scene when you asked me to make anti-liquefied gas medicine for you in the south. Yan Han coughed lightly, and his voice returned to its original state. Just tell me whether that thing is effective. That's not my true level. The thing I practiced that time was quite special. I didn't have enough spiritual energy, so I had to use liquefied gas. Anyway, no matter how you practice, it will be effective in the end. When Yan Han said that, Shen Yun also remembered what happened that time. It was a special situation, but it didn't mean that he usually made alchemy like this. I also tried it in my dormitory later. Only the simple elixir that does not require any changes in firepower can use liquefied gas. Other elixirs cannot, and you still need to control the fire accurately. It is indeed very effective, this severe cold had to admit. It's just that Shen Yun sounded like he was trying to comfort himself. However, After his interruption, Shen Yun's tense nerves were not so tense anymore. Okay, let's talk about this when we go back, but have you really decided to build the foundation on your own? Shen Yun asked again before the critical moment came. It's confirmed. Yan Han was very determined. Okay, since you have decided, it seems that I can save the foundation building pills here, Shen Yun said with a smile. Save it, if you don't mind. When this matter is over, go back and communicate with the doctors who are studying elixirs. This can be considered as a contribution to the alchemy cause of our country. Is there any reward? Like last time, a house or something else, Shen Yun said jokingly. At that time, it wasn't just a house, you became a cherished person, Yan Han said seriously. Shen Yun suddenly felt a little embarrassed when he thought that he would be like a giant panda. However, this state only lasted for a few seconds, and his expression became serious again. Someone is approaching. Shen Yun's consciousness remained vigilant. Although he was talking to Yan Han just now, when someone entered the range of his consciousness, Shen Yun discovered it. A few people nearby stood up immediately when they heard what Shen Yun said. How many people are here? Several people nearby asked nervously. 2. Everyone was slightly relieved when they heard what Shen Yun said. These two people are very strong. Everyone, be careful, they are getting close to each other very quickly. Shen Yun has now seen the appearance of the two people clearly. He doesn't look like they are natives, but they are following Boss Fu, as Du Ji said. The two foreigners looked very similar. Even if they were wrapped tightly together, their figures could not be hidden. Especially the guy with two big wings, it is clearly showing who he is. Shan Han, have you paid attention to foreign news recently? Our country has undergone such changes, so what is the situation in other countries? Shen Yun paid relatively little attention to the external situation. The situation outside is much more chaotic than at home. Various mutant abilities are generally classified according to beliefs, such as those with wings, snake people, etc. There are various reports. Recently, the department has been collecting external information. To prevent outsiders from intruding into the country, Yan Han said carefully. What a coincidence, these two below may be the invaders. Prepare to fight, Shen Yun said, and the momentum of the people next to him suddenly changed. These two are different from the ones just now. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 226. The other two people saw Shen Yun and the others as soon as they reached the top of the mountain. Shen Yun obviously noticed that the other party looked around vaguely. These two people came up following the footsteps of Boss Fu and the others, Shen Yun could be sure in an instant. Before they could take action, Shen Yun and the others took action directly. Shen Yun dealt with the man who was so wrapped up that only his eyes were exposed. Yan Han and the others directly dealt with the person with big wings next to them. As for Xiao Beng Kiao, they were given important responsibilities this time. Watch Qing Lian. Once someone comes out of the formation, don't be polite and peck him directly. If it doesn't work, just use the Phoenix Fire Spray, but you have to use it sparingly. After all, it is only so big, and there really isn't much Phoenix Fire. Although the person Shen Yun faced was not as high as her in cultivation, he had a lot of tricks, and they were all underhanded tricks. No matter how careful Shen Yun was, he was still disgusted by the large number of insects released by this man in an instant. Densely dense reptiles appeared on the entire snow-white ground, and Shen Yun had goosebumps for a moment. But in the basement of the Fu family, Shen Yun didn't know how many of these things she had to deal with, and now she also has a lot of these Chinese medicinal materials in her space. She was not afraid. A sword light swept over and half of the ground was suddenly gone. Dodging the attacks from the side, Shen Yun wiped out all the goo insects underground in a few strokes. The other party's methods are obviously more than this. Before the goo insect disappeared, black shadows roared and attacked from the opponent's body. Shen Yun looked at the situation and frowned. This one looked like the ghost he saw at the old man's place in the south. However, the ghosts in that place should have just been formed and have not been refined yet. But these black shadows in front of us are different from those ghosts. The sharp roars, the more ghostly figures, and the terrifyingly changing faces all look like upgraded versions. They should be refining successfully. The only bit of humanity is being refined. It is completely eliminated in the process of transformation. At this time, these ghosts have completely become the opponent's means of attack. Facing such a ghost, Shen Yun no longer showed mercy. Looking at the ghost beside him that was cooperating with the opponent's attack, Shen Yun directly attacked with thunder and lightning, which was most effective against such gloomy things. Sure enough, thunder and lightning struck Shen Yun's body, and the ghost next to him let out an even more shrill cry. Shen Yun smelled the burnt smell around him, and the movements of his hands became more and more neat. The Qingfeng sword dealt with the men in black attacking from outside. The lightning in his hand attacks the howling ghosts surrounding him. Chen Yun, do you want some help? We've already captured the person here. Although the winged man over there looks tall, his strength is indeed not as strong as the one here, and the opponent's attack methods are just a few spell attacks were not difficult for Yan Han and the others to deal with together, but after Fang was caught, the fierce shouting still made everyone frown. Even though they are not speaking their own language, one of them can understand what the other person is saying and translate it directly to the person next to him. He said that he had many companions who would definitely attack him if he saw that he had not returned, and warned us to put them back quickly, otherwise we would not be able to bear the consequences. This bird man is so arrogant. Now that he has fallen into our hands, he still dares to speak like this. He is not afraid that we will give him directly. As the man spoke, he made a movement directly on his neck. Yan Han heard this. But without any reaction, he directly picked up some vines that had just been fought from the ground, balled the vines into a ball, stuffed them directly into the man's mouth, and then looked at Shen Yun, who was fighting fiercely over there. You don't need your help, just control the people, Shen Yun said, no longer distracted by things over there. The man in black in front of him is not that strong. If it weren't for the troublesome ghosts surrounding him, Shen Yun wouldn't have defeated this man yet. She needs to deal with these ghosts first, lest after dealing with this person, these ghosts will get out of control and cause more lives later. The exorcism talisman kept weakening the strength of the ghosts. Coupled with the thunder and lightning, there were fewer and fewer ghosts next to Shen Yun. When the ghost completely disappeared, the man in black next to him glanced at Shen Yun unwillingly, and then a huge centipede-shaped goo crawled out of his body, and this man also ran towards the distance. Shen Yun happened to be studying the fastest way to deal with the centipede in the basement of Fu's house. A lightning strike struck it on the top of its head, and then he added King Feng's sword. Shen Yun did not look back and directly caught up with the man in black in front of him. Under the reflection of the white snow, he could clearly see that the face covering the mouth on the opposite side was obviously wet. It seems that the death of the goo insect just now directly caused serious damage to the person opposite. When the other party saw Shen Yun chasing after him, his expression became even more angry. Shen Yun saw this man make a few gestures, his body's momentum rose rapidly, and a huge amount of energy was rapidly gathering. No, you guys retreat to the top of the mountain. This person is going to self-destruct, Shen Yun shouted and kept attacking the other person, hoping to interrupt the other person's self-destruction process. But the other party didn't know what was going on, and was determined to die together with Shen Yun. While dodging the fatal attack, he made quick gestures. Shen Yun looked at the other person's body bleeding all over the floor, as if he didn't even care. It seemed that he had provoked a madman this time. Having given up the attack, Shen Yun directly began to set up his formation. Quickly setting up a trapping formation and an isolation formation around this person, Shen Yun left the place. Although the other party's self-destruction did not affect him much, thinking about the scene after the human body was exposed, Shen Yun still ran as fast as he could. When they reached the top of the mountain, several people had already retreated to this place obediently. Shen Yun didn't say anything, and directly issued a defensive talisman by himself. Soon enough, a huge explosion sounded halfway up the mountain. Thanks to the talismans arranged by Shen Yun, a few people standing on the top of the mountain only saw the scene of the formation being broken apart, heard a huge noise, and something else. None were seen. After the explosion, a large pit appeared in the ground, and the snow fell to the ground again, covering up the filth on the ground. It's really scary when this cultivator goes crazy. Several people couldn't help but sigh. If they hadn't run fast, they would probably have been seriously injured instead of being killed by the explosion. Don't sigh about this yet. The explosion just now affected the formation here. The formation here can't last long. I don't know if the people inside are exhausted. Please cheer up, Shen Yun said. After finishing, he directly took out the spirit-boosting pill refined in the space. It is obviously too late to rely on practice to restore vitality at this time, but everyone has just experienced a battle, and they are not at an advantage. If they have not replenished their spiritual energy, they will be even more disadvantaged. When everyone heard what Shen Yun said, they directly stuffed the elixir into their mouths and felt the spiritual energy that was rapidly recovering in their bodies. Before they had time to marvel, they looked at the formation that was dissipating inch by inch. The age of rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 227. An embarrassed figure gradually appeared in front of everyone. Everyone around him held his breath, but Shen Yun was not idle. The moment he saw the figure, a series of fireballs directly attacked him. Being able to walk out alive from a formation set up by a golden core stage monk must not be underestimated. The people nearby saw Shen Yun move and started to move too. The formation completely disappeared, and everyone else was lying on the ground motionless. The only one who escaped the attack was Boss Fu, who had revealed his true colors. It is indeed you. Shen Yun looked at the embarrassed Boss Fu, and his judgment was correct. I have no grudges against you. Why did you spend so much money to set me up? Boss Fu asked with a look of madness on his face when he heard what Shen Yun said. Just like the people you captured into the Lingxi mine and the people you brought into the institute, what grudges do they have with you? It's not because you died, Yan Han said sternly. They are all the lives of some ants. They died for my supreme cause. The world is unkind and treats all things as stupid dogs. In order to achieve great things, this is nothing. Boss Fu has consumed a lot of spiritual energy in the formation. It will be very embarrassing to face the siege of several people. However, the few people who said this became even more angry. You haven't done anything yet, but you regard yourself as a to decide other people's lives? If you really wait until you have achieved success in cultivation, it won't be a situation where all living beings will be in ruins. People's lives can be manipulated at will. A few people stopped saying anything, and their attacks became more and more fierce. Boss Fu has a crazy look on his face now. He will jump over the wall when he is anxious. Shen Yun and the others do not dare to be careless. The attacks from both sides were immediately divided. Just a few of you who want to defeat me are just idiots talking in their dreams. I really thought that all my years of preparation were in vain. As he said that, he didn't know what he had done. Yin energy began to spread all over his body. The corpse lying behind gradually started to move. Although it was very stiff, it really stood up slowly. Be careful, these are the puppets he made. Don't get hurt. This thing has corpse poison on it, Shen Yun warned and attacked directly, but Boss Fu only hid behind these puppets. Shen Yun can only deal with these guys who have just stood up first. Although their strength is not high, one of the characteristics of puppets is that they are not afraid of being injured. Even if his head is lost, his body is still moving under the control of Boss Fu. Moreover, these puppets are in front of immortal cultivators, and their bodies seem to have been controlled by puppets while they were alive, so when they become puppets, they are fierce and ruthless. Why do I feel like these things are more powerful than the Birdman just now? Several people nearby who came to help couldn't help but sigh. Don't talk nonsense. Even if they are very powerful, we have to take them down today, otherwise it will only be worse in the future. His teammates ignored his complaints and fought hard against the puppets opposite them. Shen Yun was dealing with the puppets while guarding against the occasional attacks from Boss Fu next to him. A puppet, under the control of Boss Fu, quietly approached where Qing Lian was. Chirp, chirp, Xiao Beng Qiao's angry cry sounded in Shen Yu's mind. Shen Yun turned around and saw that the puppet had approached Qing Lian. Before she could get close to stop her, she saw a ball of fire as big as a fingernail spitting out of little bouncer's mouth. This was really the extreme measure of saving what she said. But then her eyes couldn't help but widen, and she saw that the ball of fire was like a prairie fire, directly wrapping the puppet's whole body. Then, while Shen Yun was attacking the puppet, he saw the puppet turning into ashes. Everyone uses fire, these puppets are afraid of fire, Shen Yun reminded him, and he used it first. Sure enough, once the fire spell was used, the whole scene looked much better, unlike just now where various body tissues were flying around. The whole situation was under control for a while, and Shen Yun and the others immediately gained the upper hand. Boss Fu over there was unhurried, as if he was holding back some big move. Shen Yun did not relax his vigilance. Looking at the opponent's position, Shen Yun began to control his position. As he walked, Qing Feng's sword inadvertently drew some lines on the ground, carving them deeply into the ground. As the puppets gradually disappeared, Mr. Fu's ultimate move was finally ready. A huge stone statue slowly appeared above Mr. Fu's head, looking like a giant Buddha statue. But Shen Yun noticed that the appearance of this stone statue was the same as the one when Boss Fu was practicing in Hong Kong City, and the expression on his face was not really kind. The smile on the corner of his mouth was slightly cold, and his dull eyes looked at the people underground as if he were looking at a swarm of ants. At this moment, Boss Fu's weakened aura seemed to be resurrected with full blood. Shen Yun's heart tightened. He didn't expect that the other party had such a secret technique. It was all because the puppet had consumed too much time just now. Shen Yun gritted his teeth, his body turned into an afterimage, and his Qing Feng sword moved quickly on the ground. Since the formation can consume his power, it can still be done now. However, after Boss Fu recovered his spiritual energy, he aimed at Shen Yun. The other party flicked his arm and threw several colleagues with low cultivation aside. Attacked directly towards Shen Yun. Shen Yun was carving a formation, and he could only avoid attacks while carving, but his speed slowed down. Looking at the taller stone statue above his head, it seems like a steady stream of power is gathering from a distance, providing Boss Fu with constant consumption. Shen Yun suddenly thought of the stone statues that Jia Wei and Nong had in the past, and then thought about the fact that many people in the entire port city believed in such stone statues. Broken, the energy of the stone statue should not have come from those stone statues. Shen Yun initially guessed whether they collected the power of faith to practice, but looking at the current scene, it is obviously not the case, but it looks a bit like, taking a long-term view, at this critical moment, people's faith and vitality can be absorbed through each small stone statue. How to interrupt this? Shen Yun was very anxious. While dealing with Boss Fu, he also sent a message to Yan Han, asking him to quickly notify Du Ji from Gang City to go to Pengguan District and destroy the big stone statue on the 6th floor of Boss Fu's room on Mingjian Road. Yan Han was still attacking Boss Fu nearby. When he heard what Shen Yun said, he was stunned for a moment and slowly withdrew from the attack circle. He quickly used the walkie-talkie to contact his teammates at the foot of the mountain and asked them to notify Du Ji in Hong Kong City to go to Shenyun. The address I mentioned just now will get the matter sorted out. It's an urgent matter, so we must do it quickly. As the news spread, the battle between Shenyun and Boss Fu became more and more intense. People with low cultivation levels like them couldn't get in, and the whole mountain was shaken by the spell collapse. They could only barely stand still and move back to avoid being held back by Shenyun. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 228. Two practitioners at the Golden Elixir stage fought seriously, and the scene could blow up a mountain. For a moment, mountains and rocks were flying everywhere. Kunlun Mountain was worthy of the title of Ancient Fairy Mountain. The two people fought so hard, but they only shook and broke a few rocks. Boss, what should I do? Can Shenyun beat him? We can't help him now. He looks really anxious. Although the others were standing aside, they were anxious in their hearts. Don't be anxious. We can only wait and see how Shenyun deals with it now. I have asked the people below to gather people and come up with weapons. I finally managed to trick him here today. It is impossible for him to escape so easily. Like Fu, the boss is such a cautious and powerful person, and it is impossible to be fooled a second time if he has been fooled once. Moreover, Shenyun can barely deal with his current strength. It is hard to say whether there will be any changes in the future. That's good, that's good. When everyone heard that they were armed, they felt a lot more relieved. It was definitely not a simple weapon to deal with such a person, and they would have gained a lot of experience. Shenyun here has no other things to think about. Boss Fu is stronger than her. She not only has to deal with him, but also quickly completes the formation that she has almost completed. Fortunately, he has strong spiritual consciousness, otherwise Shenyun would have been hit by the opponent's spell. The moment the formation was completed, Shenyun threw the spirit stone directly towards the eye of the formation. This time, it was a relatively simple trapping formation. There was no time to set up other formations. After a little delay, as long as Du Ji's side, the speed was so fast that she didn't believe Boss Fu in the death of death. Seeing Boss Fu disappear in an instant, Shenyun kept moving and began to set up a killing formation outside the trapping formation. It will probably take a long time for him to break through the formation and come out. Shenyun ignored the concerned people around him and directly stuffed a pill into his mouth and began to regulate the qi and blood boiling in his body. At this time, a ray of golden light silently floated down from the sky. Xiao Banqi sensed it instantly and stopped guarding Qinglian. In the blink of an eye, it appeared directly on top of Chen Yun's head. Squinting your eyes, you enjoy the golden light falling into its body. For a moment, the little jumper feels a little bigger, and its feathers are still soft, but with a hint of fiery red color. The hidden wounds in Shen Yun's body, who was meditating and adjusting his breath, were automatically healed at this moment. Feeling a golden light of merit suddenly coming out of his body, Shen Yun was stunned for a moment. He didn't seem to have done anything important recently. What happened now? Where did it come from? The golden light of merit, but this time the golden light of merit came really in time. The injuries in his body were repaired, and his cultivation level also improved slightly. Opening his eyes, he saw the stone statue above his head looking at him mockingly. Shen Yun raised his head and glanced at the other party calmly, and felt that the rising momentum of the other party paused. Then Shen Yun saw the stone statue shake in its stable position. The stone statue began to crack in its broken parts, and the smile on its face seemed to be mocking itself. It seems that Du Ji succeeded. Sure enough, he was right. The body of the stone statue is a medium. As long as the body is destroyed, it will definitely have an impact on the stone statues over there. Originally, Shen Yun thought that he would no longer absorb the belief in the stone statues over there. People's vitality is good, but now it has exceeded their expectations, and the stone statue directly shattered. Looking down at Boss Fu, who had just emerged from the formation, looking at the stone statue in the sky with disbelief, Shen Yun couldn't help but smile. Now that I've used up all my cards, it's my turn. As a sword cultivator, she didn't use her sword very much just now because she had to lay a cloth. Now she wants to test whether the sword cultivator's ability to leapfrog the challenge is real. I saw a sword light striking towards Boss Fu's face as quickly as a rainbow ribbon. Shen Yun approached quickly, his sword skills continuous, like a burst of invisible air spreading in front of Boss Fu. The opponent obviously didn't expect that Shen Yun, who had been avoiding him just now and holding a sword like a display, would directly approach him and use such sharp sword moves. The two of them were too close. Boss Fu wanted to continue attacking with spells but was unable to do so. Shen Yun took advantage of this opportunity and attacked faster and faster. Looking at the other party's embarrassing evasion, more and more blood stains were on his body. Finally, he fell heavily to the ground, covered in blood. The fatal part of his neck was pointed by Shen Yun with the tip of his sword. This duel was finally over. How about it, when you become an ant yourself, can you still take life and death so lightly? Shen Yun responded with what Boss Fu just said. Who are you? Were you the one who attacked me last time in Hong Kong City? I didn't offend you, so why did you help them deal with me? As long as you let me go today, I will give you whatever you want from now on. No, no, from now on I will only be your master. Boss Fu is obviously unwilling to give in like this. He is still thinking about whether he can escape. In his opinion, the other people are not threats. Shen Yun is just a little girl who can fight. Of course you have offended me. You have offended me since you started setting up the first research institute. Shen Yun sneered at his solicitation. Have your relatives or friends been involved? This is all a misunderstanding. Don't worry, let me go. I will have them released immediately. From now on, they will be treated as honored guests and I will give them a large amount of compensation. Boss Fu at this moment, I couldn't care less about being reserved, and immediately thought of something and said. Oh, what will you do if they are already dead? Shen Yun asked lightly, thinking about the scene where he died in the research institute in his previous life. I will compensate you, 10 times and 100 times. As long as you let me go, I will do anything. If you don't take other people's lives seriously, you will really regard your own life as extremely precious. This person is really its very double standards. Shen Yun stopped talking nonsense with him and directly blocked his spiritual energy. Captain Yan, I mean to deal with him directly. Such people are the most cunning. Since Jiao Weihe can run away, I don't think we can lock up such a highly cultivated person. Shen Yun said directly to Yan Han, expressed his meaning. You're right, I'll do it. Yan Han didn't hesitate and made an instant decision. This is the best way to avoid future troubles. I'll give you the sword and point it directly at the Danshan. Shen Yun had no mercy for such a person. Poisonous woman, why do you do this to me? I am the chosen one and I will definitely become an immortal in the future. Spare me, spare me. Boss Fu's voice became more and more crazy. Under the watchful eyes of several people, Qing Feng entered Danshan and gradually lost his voice. Shen Yun looked at the soul floating out, smashed into pieces, and sent into reincarnation. As for what he would become in the next life, or whether there would be a next life, that was not his concern. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Age of Rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 229. No one will come up now, right? The person next to him watched the final outcome in silence, paused for a moment, and asked after a pause. Hearing this, Chen Yun felt it with his spiritual consciousness. He didn't see anyone else going up the mountain, but he saw a group of his teammates below carrying something quickly walking up the mountain. Someone is coming up. Who is it? Before Shen Yun finished speaking, several people around him asked quickly as if they were frightened. Our people didn't know what they were carrying here, Shen Yun said quickly. It's no wonder that everyone is panicking. Among these people, except Shen Yun, who is still fine, the rest of them have almost exhausted their spiritual energy, and they are still injured. If someone from Boss Fu comes up again, everyone really can't imagine taking him down the scene. Hearing this, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Boss, did the people below send weapons up? Please inform them quickly that they don't need to send them over. It has been solved here. The people next to him suddenly remembered what Yan Han had just said and reminded them. One sentence. Yan Han quickly picked up the walkie-talkie to notify the people below. Only then did Shen Yun know that the severe cold had just informed the people below, but fortunately the matter had been resolved, otherwise it would have been too late for the people below to come up. Pack it up and get ready to go down the mountain. Shen Yun looked at the messy top of the mountain and decided to tidy up the place quickly and leave a little peace to this place. Then, what to do with this green lotus? Everyone looked at the green lotus in bud and asked curiously. Chen Yun will take care of these. Let's clean up this place first, Yan Han said at the right time next to him. This place was originally decorated by Shen Yun, and of course the lotus still belongs to Shen Yun. Although everyone was a little confused, they still obeyed the order and started working. Shen Yun and Xiao Bangtai looked at the lotus in front of them. How about you, do you want to take it in? Shen Yun asked Xiao Bangtai in his mind. Of course, mine, Xiao Bangtai replied simply. Shen Yun laughed a little, but he still managed to protect himself. Then we will wait until the flowers bloom and the lotus seeds are formed before we take them back. Shen Yun was not in a hurry now, and sat directly next to the lotus to start practicing. The fight just now consumed a lot of his spiritual energy. This was a good time to practice. When Yan Han and the others went down, he would just stay in peace on the top of the mountain. Xiaoguan. Yan Han and the others had packed up. When they saw Shen Yun sitting here, they didn't bother them and quietly walked downstairs. Shen Yun has solved the most difficult problem, so he has to deal with the remaining things by himself. Shen Yun and others walked away and directly used the cleaning technique, and the entire ground returned to the whiteness it had before the fight. Looking at the pitted ground, this can only be restored by relying on the powerful recovery ability of nature. She set up a defensive formation on the entire mountain top and sat here directly to start practicing in seclusion. The fight just now gave Chen Yun a lot of insights, and the spiritual energy in his body was consumed a lot, so he happened to be practicing here while waiting for the green lotus to blossom and bear fruit. There was no sun or moon in the mountains. Shen Yun had been practicing for an unknown amount of time. When his cultivation gradually stabilized, Chen Yun smelled the fragrance of lotus flowers surrounding his nose. When I opened my eyes, I saw a green lotus blooming just right with a faint light. What was surprising was that the lotus pod next to it was already mature. Shen Yun didn't expect that when he saw a lotus flower, another one would grow out of it while he was in retreat. This was a rare surprise. There is no need to worry now. I collected one lotus pod by myself and left the remaining one on the top of the mountain. Think of it as giving back to nature. If a treasure of heaven and earth appears in this place, then more treasures of heaven and earth will appear here, and it will become a veritable fairyland. Shen Yun went up and carefully picked the lotus pods. Looking at the uncorrupted petals that fell on the water, Shen Yun did not let them go. Let's put this lotus here. With these lotus seeds and the ones in the space, we can plant it much better in the space, Shen Yun discussed with Xiao Bangqi and said. I could only hear Xiao Bangqiu chattering in my mind, and I didn't know what he wanted to express. I really don't understand this. Shen Yun waved his hand helplessly. Unexpectedly, as soon as I finished speaking, I saw a large and complete memory appear in my mind. Shen Yun took a look and realized that these were the inheritance contents of Xiao Banqi, which she shared with herself. As a divine beast, the phoenix, it obviously inherited more things than I imagined. I couldn't figure out what this lotus was, but the inheritance content in my mind clearly informed me. Although this thing is not as awesome as the Chaos Green Lotus, it is also her descendant. Although it cannot be transformed into various artifacts and innate treasures like the Chaos Green Lotus, each part of this lotus has its own use. No wonder Xiao Bengqiye was so anxious. Shen Yun felt a little regretful when he thought about his decision at the moment. Little Benki, we still have a lot of them in the space. We will plant more in the future and plant a large area in the space. In this way, let's plant it when we go back. Let's keep this one here and leave it to someone who is destined. This lotus seed has the effect of saving lives. Saving one life is better than building a 7-level pagoda. Maybe it will save important people in the future. God will also reward our merits. Chen Yun is persuading Xiao Banqi, and he is also persuading himself. When Xiao Banqi thought about the benefits of merit, he suddenly felt that it was nothing to eat less, and he would not starve to death anyway. The screams in Shen Yun's mind finally stopped. Shen Yun took great pains to set up a maze around the perimeter. This time, only those who are destined will win. I walked down the mountain with a little jumper on my shoulder. White snowflakes began to fall in the sky behind me. On the mist-filled mountaintop, a blue lotus loomed. There were only 5 lotus seeds on the lotus pod in his hand. Shen Yun peeled off one and stuffed it into the little Bengbao's mouth. He cherished the rest and put them away. When we got to the bottom of the mountain, it was pretty good. There was a group of people stationed here. From afar, Shen Yun saw someone coming towards him. Looking carefully, I realized it was Su Lei, whom I hadn't seen for a long time. "How are you okay?" Su Lei saw Shen Yun and came up to ask. "Fine. Why are you here? Didn't you say you have a mission?" Chen Yun was quite curious. "I took people to deal with the matter at the Beijing and Shanghai Research Institutes. All the things were destroyed and the people inside were rescued. The news was received in a timely manner and there were no casualties. The boss has gone to deal with other matters, so let me come over and talk to you. By the way, I will tell you that the government will organize a cultivator conference next to standardize some things. The boss asked me to come and pick you up." Su Lei said with a bit of joy and a special meaning on his face when he talked about what happened at the institute. The age of rebirth, the fake daughter relies on cultivation to become bigger and stronger. Author, Laughing Charm. Chapter 230. Shen Yun's heart moved for a moment, and then calmed down. Regardless of whether the other party also remembered the life in the institute, but now, the institute has become a thing of the past in China. Thank you for your hard work. I saved a lot of people. When is this conference going to be held? Let's go, Shen Yun said with a smile on his face. It's June 20th, there's still half a month left. There are a lot of people at this meeting. By the way, I'll take this opportunity to record Xiu Zhen's name information. It will be easier to handle anything in the future, so as not to be resurrected due to spiritual energy, causing society to lose order. But before that, there will be a meeting. You have to attend. There are still 8 days left. Su Lei explained the matter to Shen Yun in detail. Shen Yun has a little understanding of the meeting. Okay, let's go. Shen Yun has nothing to do here, and she is ready to return home. 2 people walked out of the mountain. As for the remaining people, Shen Yun didn't know what their mission was. It has been 2 hours since we walked out of the Kunlun Mountains. At the foot of the mountain was parked the car that Su Lei drove over. It seemed that he had been here for a while, and a lot of things were left in the car. Su Lei cleaned up the car first, and then the 2 of them drove towards the capital city. It is June 8th when I return to Beijing, and the meeting is on June 15th, so there are still 7 days left. Shen Yun also needs to go to school at this time, just in time to take the final exam. The time is just right. Shen Yun naturally blended into the final exam team. Although he had been busy outside for half a semester, he did not feel any discomfort. Every day is full of arrangements. Finally, the last exam of the university has been completed. If the results are passed, Shen Yun can come here to get his diploma. After finishing this matter, Shen Yun plans to take time to go home again. Xiaobeng Qi's inheritance says that lotus seeds contain a lot of life energy. The key is that it can save people's lives. Shen Yun is not sure what this thing does to Shen Jian. Useless. But now that I have it, I still want to give it to him to try. Shen Yun was about to leave directly after school, but was stopped by Hu Yan. Hey, why didn't you go home after the exam? Shen Yun asked doubtfully. Didn't I have a mission with me? I've been waiting for you. I didn't know that you didn't come back until after the exam. I didn't dare to disturb you during the exam. These days I only came to find you after you finished the exam. Boss Shen, have you forgotten that you are the major shareholder of our newly opened factory? I have never seen you so arrogant. You have been indifferent to us for the past few months. Hu Yan had a look of embarrassment on her face, but when she said it, she looked helpless and rolled her eyes quietly. Oh, I'm sorry, I've been quite busy during this period, and I forgot about this matter with your aunt and you here. I don't have to worry about it, Shen Yun said with a smile. I really admire you. If we take the things away, you will probably lose all your money. No, I believe your aunt is not such a short-sighted person. Besides, half of what we do is doing good things. Do you think your aunt is that kind of person? Shen Yun is not afraid of people running away. She had signed a contract, and it was no ordinary contract. She could still tell clearly whether Hu Yan was joking or really complaining. She didn't mind saying a few more words if there was still time. Of course my aunt is not such a person. She has worked hard for the factory these past few months, but she is very happy with her work. Now let me tell you about the situation in the factory in the past few months. Hu Yan, hearing what Shen Yun said, he also laughed. He took Shen Yun's arm and asked, I wonder if I can take some of your time, Madam Shen, so that we can have a good chat. Okay, let's talk while we eat. Shen Yun saw that she had already reached the snack street. She was a little greedy after not eating for a long time. The two of them found a place with few people, and one of them ordered some food, and started chatting while eating. Only then did Shen Yun know that Aunt Hu had already made all the preparations a month after the factory signed the contract. As for the new problems encountered in production and the problems encountered in the subsequent product launch, Hu Yan did not say anything. Anyway, what Shen Yun knows now is that De Huashuang has treated dozens of people with burns, and the sales of skincare products are also very good. Although it has not recovered its investment yet, its income and expenses have been covered, and it even barely made a profit this month. Hu Yan came here to tell Shen Yun the good news, and brought Shen Yun's dividends and account books to show her. Of course, the most important thing is to get the peach blossom frost's neutralizing agent from Shen Yun. Those that Shen Yun gave last time have basically been produced. The factory cannot stop work, so Aunt Hu can only ask Hu Yan to come over and ask. On the other hand, they are also thinking of ways to develop other products. After all, it is difficult for a large factory to gain popularity with just this one product. Shen Yun has no opinion on these things. After all, she really doesn't have any serious opinions on the development of the factory. After all, you can't expect a girl who worked as an archaeologist in her previous life to suddenly become a business genius with a specialization in the field after working hard all her life. It's better to leave these things to professionals. Shen Yun took the information that Hu Yan brought over and looked through it. He found that the money was quite a lot, more than 1,000 yuan. This still covered the expenses without making much profit. After briefly opening it, Shen Yun put the things away. I still need to prepare the neutralizer, so you tell Aunt Hu that someone will come to pick it up on the 19th, and I will prepare it in advance, Shen Yun said to Hu Yan while eating. Okay, I heard you say that my mission for today is completed. I can have a few days of fun in Beijing and the city. I'm just waiting for my aunt to come to pick up the things and go back with their car. Hu Yan's things were done and she was in a good mood. Very good. After the two of them had eaten, the party was over. It was getting late, and Shen Yun thoughtfully sent him to the door of the dormitory, and walked towards the outside of the school alone. When he arrived at a deserted place, Shen Yun went directly to his home. He hadn't been back for such a long time and didn't know what was going on at home. Shen Yun came down to the old house as usual. From mid-air, he could feel that the whole family was still working hard. The weather has become much warmer now, so everyone is in the yard. Shen Yun opened the door and walked in. The family members were startled, thinking that an outsider was coming. Several people who were practicing physical training stopped. I'm back. It was a little dark in the yard, so Shen Yun took the initiative to say hello. Yun Yun is back, hurry up and light the lamp, old man. Upon hearing Shen Yun's voice, the courtyard immediately became lively, and there was a bit of joy in his voice.